and we are live. We're live on all the platforms. So we've got Myron Gaines here. We are going to be obviously giving the news. Sometimes I'll be looking down. So watch out for that because we're giving the news live. We'll be looking for it. But we've got Myron Gaines here live.
Thanks for having me.
This is the first time ever we've got someone live in person. So
Myron, I was here in Florida, as you guys know. I was at the University of Florida doing some debates on why we're on TikTok. So why the W's deserve less, promoting my new book and all that, and also getting into debates with foreign policy with Israel and a couple other things. So it was a good time.
So it was good, right? Obviously, you've been covering the Palestine situation. You've been covering the Palestine situation before. You've been covering the war with Iran. We just had some news just now. Beatrix read it out, which is that there is a possibility that a U.S. soldier has been taken hostage. Logistically, how could that happen? Because I know you've got actually a very long amount of experience working for the FBI. And secondly, what would be the kind of situational position in order to determine how to get out of this, how to get the soldier back, if this is the case?
Well, it's going to have to be probably some type of exchange of some kind. But I hope he didn't get captured. I know that's like new information, right? We don't know if that's
it's like
it just came in recently.
Yeah, basically Larijani, who is a representative of the Iranian government, claims that first of all, a lot more higher number of people have been arrested. In addition to that, they have been killed, have been taken out, and then in addition to that, an American soldier has been taken hostage.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because I know originally I remember they said that they, killed 160 soldiers. That wasn't true. Right. So, but in the fog of war, everyone pushes out their propaganda. So we'll have to see. But if it were true and they actually did capture a soldier, that would be very bad for the U.S. I mean, we'd have to negotiate, to try to get him out. And obviously they're going to want something in exchange for that. So
who would basically, from a logistical perspective, who would take part in the negotiation? Obviously, it wouldn't be. I'm assuming they'd bring the president in to keep him informed. But who?
Of course, that would probably be the Secretary of State.
Really?
Yeah, that'd probably be Rubio. I would say probably would take that over, and obviously he'd be working very closely. The president would be involved in every step of the way, probably making the decisions. But the representative to do it would probably be, that'd have to be Marco Rubio, because that's foreign affairs. Steve Witkoff, he's just like an envoy, like a special envoy. So, I mean, Witkoff might be involved as well, right? Because it's a more ceremonial position. But it would probably be Marco Rubio running that. But I don't think, I can't remember the last time. When did we even have, 79 with the embassy?
Yeah, it's been a very long time.
Yeah.
So U.S. soldier taken hostages.
Yeah. And then they'd try to get like some type of, special operation going to get them back as well. But that's assuming they have them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, another thing we heard was that Dubai got hit really hard, Dubai Marina.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on that?
The Gulf states are in a very bad spot because, and we're discussing, with the interview, you're going to drop it probably tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I'll still give a quick little thing here because it's a different audience.
Yeah.
So the thing with the Gulf states is like they're in a bad spot because, okay, the U.S. basically has to do a regime change in order for the Gulf states to operate the way that they're doing. And if they don't effectuate the regime change, they're going to have to, what I think is like, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do, because the Gulf states have a deal with the United States. Okay, I allow you to have a military base here. In return, you protect us. But they're not even doing that. They're protecting Israel more, and they're supporting Israel more. So it's like, we're getting attacked for having you here, and you're not even doing your job of protecting us. Yeah. So what's the point of having you here? So like, I just don't see, if they don't effectuate the regime change, because if they don't effectuate the regime change, they have to pull out. Well, now Iran is still there and the U.S. bases are still there. That's a liability for them now. And it's been proven that it's a liability. So, and we all know that the Gulf states pride themselves on safety, not getting into wars, being clean, being able to bring tourism, etc. If they're getting bombed, that is like the worst thing ever. Like, no one wants to be there, right? So their tourism is going to suffer. And then on top of that, you got the issues with the Strait of Hormuz, right? With obviously Qatar LNG can't move their energy. They shut it down basically. The Strait of Hormuz with the energy flowing. So the Gulf states and then their tourism is dying. People are leaving. So they're getting it every single way. And I'm sure, Saudi, Qatari, Bahrainian, all these, Kuwaiti, all these investors are probably like second guessing their investments in the United States. So this is definitely going to create a change in the Gulf. So it's going to be like, okay, look, U.S., you can still have a presence here, but maybe not as much of a military presence, because it's going to open us up to liability. Or they're going to look for other countries to protect them. Maybe Pakistan, maybe China, maybe Russia. to assure their security now, because the U.S. clearly demonstrated when rubber meets the road, they're going to prioritize Israel over the Gulf states. So this is hurting us diplomatically too in the future with the Gulf.
I think one of the excellent points you made in the interview that is going to drop hopefully tomorrow is you mentioned that, look, the Gulf states are going to have a problem. They're going to likely move away from the United States of America. That being said, look, our
relations will never be the same with them at bare minimum. Like our diplomacy is absolutely strained. I mean, a very wealthy, if I'm not mistaken, was he UAE billionaire? Like wrote a letter to an angry letter to Trump, like, hey, who told you that you have the right to start a war for us, whatever? Because historically, like these countries haven't been involved in conflicts, right? So for them to be involved in a conflict like this and get missiles rained down on them and have their property value destroyed and their trade destroyed and everything else, for a war that they didn't even want to be involved in, that they didn't sign up for whatsoever. So now they have to deal with the real reality of okay, the U.S. is a liability. They're not even doing their job. They're not even protecting us. So
you're right about that. But in terms of what could be the possible options for the Gulf states, you basically proffered two possibilities. One was China, and the other one was possibly some kind of pan-Islamic or pan-Arabic Muslim NATO type of situation.
And we already went in that direction when the Israelis attacked Qatar. That was a big red pill for the entire Gulf. Oh wow, the Israelis can attack us if they have a problem, and the U.S. won't do anything. What, Netanyahu making a phone call? That's nothing. So we saw Saudi Arabia take action and go ahead and get that defense pact with Pakistan, who's a nuclear armed power. So I think this is going to make the Gulf realize that relying on other countries for security might not be the way. And if you are going to rely on another country for security, maybe you need to go to a Muslim country that isn't in bed with the Israelis so much. So we'll see what happens. But Pakistan's an option because obviously they're the only nuclear armed Muslim majority country. You have the Chinese who don't get into wars and help build infrastructure. And then you also have the Russians, even though they're weakened right now. So these are some, superpowers or some competent militaries that they can maybe go to replace U.S. protection.
So I'm a big believer that these Arab countries would not leave the United States of America for China. And the reason is because they need someone to physically, militarily protect them. They don't have the ability to do it themselves. And so you proffered this position that possibly Pakistan could hold that role as the military powers, the nuclear power on that. I thought that was quite a unique position. Do you want to expand on that and explain it?
I think Saudi Arabia set the precedent. When Saudi Arabia went over there and, so they saw what happened to Qatar. And, Saudi Arabia's been playing both sides for a very long time, right? Saudi Arabia flirts with BRICS. They obviously still flirt with us. They still deal with us. But Saudi Arabia's been kind of playing the game. They didn't renew back in 2024 in June. And this didn't hit the news. They didn't renew their agreement that they had with us to kind of do a majority of their deals in U.S. dollars, aka what informally known as the petrodollar. So, and I think that's a sign of the times, right? Like it used to be in the 1970s when they struck that deal with Nixon, we were the world superpower, but now we're moving into a multipolar world, and I think it's ever more present now. So, they have options, and those options could potentially help them. But with Pakistan, the reason why Pakistan is unique is Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have always had a relationship. Pakistan, I remember, was heavily sanctioned after they had done some nuclear testing and they had some issues. And they're not a signatory of the NPT either, if I'm not mistaken. Them, Israel, and North Korea, I don't think have signed onto the NPT. So when they dealt with those sanctions, the Saudi Arabian government, the royal family, helped them quite a bit economically with finances. So that's an option, and it's a Muslim majority country, and obviously, it's also a good insulation against Israeli aggression, because we know that the Israelis and the Pakistanis don't really get along too well either. And to be honest with you, if they do topple Iran, I think Pakistan is going to be next on the list, or Turkey, or Turkey. Because with Netanyahu, we have to be very real here. He is concerned with any Muslim majority country that has any type of power. That's really what it comes down to. He won't admit that, I don't think he admits this publicly in American media, but I think I've heard him say it before in Israeli media. But yeah, any Muslim majority country with power is a threat to him. So
I agree with you. I think that the plan is going to be the future plan. And we've seen it enacted with Mr. Modi's visit to Israel, where he was doing some kind of fire dance. But in there, he was basically, you saw the I believe that in the future, what's going to happen.
Pakistan was definitely a part of that conversation.
Oh, I think that those two are going to plan to work together in the future to take Pakistan out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They both have a vested interest in doing so.
So yeah, I agree with that. So now coming back to what's happened, obviously we're just covering the news at the moment. We also had today Donald Trump come out and talk about, he talked about the same propaganda statements, about what's happening in Iran and how they're very abusive to people and how they treat women and how they treat children. What's your thoughts on that?
With Iran,
with Trump's kind of propaganda that he's stating about Iran.
Yeah. So, it's funny. Guys, you can go on YouTube right now, type in like Iran mall or whatever, and there's like so many people that like take videos of themselves like walking around the mall, walking around Tehran or whatever. The women aren't covering their hair. Yeah. It's very westernized. You have malls everywhere. Like it's not. People think like the women are walking around like with masks on and stuff like that, and they're being oppressed. It's not true at all, right? The women are they're walking around literally in no hijabs, bro. So it's like. And actually, there's actually a sizable Jewish community in Iran too. A lot of people don't ever talk about that.
Did you want to explain that?
I remember Max Blumenthal went and visited Iran, and he went and like worshipped at like a synagogue or one of the temples, and he had like all the Jewish garb on and everything. So, and Iran, like it's a very diverse place. You got, I think there's Druze there. There's obviously the Balochs. There's the Kurds, etc. So, and that's another comical thing that we were talking about too. Like, Kurds rising up in Iran to attack them. I don't know. They have citizenship. They have, sovereignty. Like, I don't know what they would. I don't know. So, I think Trump grossly overestimated his ability to topple the government and get an uprising. Uprising, we know at this point isn't coming, but a lot of it comes from like just Western unawareness of how Iran is, right? You watch someone like, I hate to use, I like Patrick, right? I get along with him, but Patrick Bet-David is like, a horrible example of an American Iranian where that's like completely out of touch with like how the people on the ground actually feel. Even the people that don't like the Ayatollah or the people that don't like the, the theocracy or they're not fans of the Iranian Islamic Revolution, they still dislike Israel more. So all this attack has done is made them rally around the flag. And the more they bomb infrastructure, the more they bomb them. The more Netanyahu sits there and says, rise up or whatever, the more they're going to say, no, we're going to stand with our government. And regime changes like this typically don't work. You're going to need to do some kind of ground assault. I think Trump was just high off the Venezuela W in his eyes. And he thought, we can do this in Iran as well. And it's not going as planned. They probably want to get it done by the weekend. Didn't happen. Okay, let's do it in a month. Not going to happen. Now they're talking about September.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on something you mentioned about infrastructure? We're now hearing that 4 schools have been hit by the United States of America. The first one causing,
almost 170 deaths.
Yeah.
And they tried to deny it, but now it's pretty much confirmed it was the U.S.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that? There's been 4 schools hit.
Horrible. I mean, it's and the crazy part is like, there's no strategic benefit to this. It's like this conflict like serves zero strategic benefit. We had 6 of our soldiers come back today, to the United States, and I see 6 coffins of 6 people that died needlessly. They didn't need to, for what? They're sitting there. I think they died in Kuwait. Trying to operate missile interceptors for what? Like, I mean, this is a war that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And the crazy part is like the Iranians told the U.S. and Israel, if you attack us, you're going to create a regional war. We are going to attack every military infrastructure in the Gulf. We're going to burn you guys down, and this is going to be a regional war. And Trump and Israel still attacked anyway. And it's like completely useless. It's like Iraq 2.0. And it's crazy because Trump literally campaigned saying the Iraq war was pointless. He said it himself back in 2016 when he was debating. The Iraq war was stupid. I'm against it. We shouldn't have done it, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you're doing the same thing again. Well, that was even less, like at least there the propaganda was somewhat decent. They tried to link it to 9/11. We don't have anything here to justify this at all, like not even close.
Well, that was interesting. If you remember, Mamdani had his moment, didn't he? If you remember, which was when he was on the platform and he was talking about how you shouldn't be pro-Israel, you shouldn't be talking about Israel or going to Israel. Well, if one of I'd say the bigger moments that made Trump huge was during the primaries when he said to Jeb Bush, your brother took us to war with Iraq, and it was a needless war. And so what you mentioned is quite right. But if you want to expand on that, that was his kind of breakthrough moment. Yeah. And to see he started like that and he's ended like this, what does it say about?
And then I already know, like I'm gonna get some MAGA tards that are gonna come in. Well, then they're gonna say because talk to some of these idiots, they're going to say, oh, well, Myron, he's always been consistent on Iran. He's always been Iran can't have the bomb, whatever. Okay, cool. Didn't Midnight Hammer take away the bomb that he gloated about? B-2 bombers, Midnight Hammer, we went 18 hours. They couldn't stop us. We got the best military ever. Did he not say that? He set them back like years or whatever. So which one is it? Did you lie back then? Like, did you not do as much destruction as you claimed? Or do they have the bomb now? So either way, like, you're lying at some point. Like, what's going on here? You can't have it both ways. So, and let's be honest, the nuclear program, them enriching it to 60%. Let's assume that's right. Let's assume that Wickoff was being honest. They have the 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium. That was a bargaining chip to negotiate. That's why they said, we'll come to the table and talk nuclear. At the end of the day, the Iranians want sanction relief, and they are willing to barter the nuclear program, and make it civilian or enrich at a lower level to do it. This is exactly what the JCPOA was for. The only reason they started to enrich at a higher level was because we pulled out the JCPOA. We didn't abide by what we said.
And just for the audience, do you want to explain the JCPOA?
Yeah.
What the parameters of that agreement were?
Yeah. Simply put, it was famously known as the Iran nuclear deal. It was a deal struck between President Obama and John Kerry, I think was the Secretary of State at the time. Who was the foreign? Was it Agachi? No, Abbas. Who's the foreign minister at the time?
I forgot his name now. He got killed in the helicopter accident.
No. I'm sorry. The foreign minister.
The current one. It's Abbas Arakchi.
Was he the one that struck this? I think he was involved in a nuclear deal too.
Was
it Pezeshkian?
No, it was president. It was a. You're talking about this current one or
the current foreign minister, not the president that died.
The current foreign minister is Abbas Arakchi, and he's the one who's negotiating.
Yeah, he was involved in the JCPOA the first time, right?
No, the first time it was a different foreign minister, but he died in the helicopter with the previous president.
Okay. Yeah. Where Ismail Haniyeh was killed at first, the new one's inauguration.
Yeah, so the previous president, remember they died in the helicopter?
Yes.
The president and the foreign minister. So Abbas Arakchi is the new foreign minister.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, so they killed two. That was Mossad probably. But okay, so going back to so either way, so the JCPOA, basically famously known as the Iran nuclear deal, it was a deal where we would basically have access to their nuclear program, ensure that it was civilian. Multiple countries were involved in it. Multiple countries signed off that they were abiding by the terms of the deal. We had an enormous amount of oversight. The IAEA was doing inspections. They signed on to the non-proliferation treaty, the NPT, which is interestingly enough because Israel didn't do any of this. They have a nuclear program that's completely illegal. But they're over here saying, like, you can't have a nuclear bomb, but we have an undeclared, we have strategic ambiguity, which that's a whole other thing. So it's like, okay, you can defend yourselves, but they can't defend themselves. Fine. But either way, so that's we had oversight on their program, and Trump pulled out, from much pressure from the Zionist lobby alongside Mike Pompeo. They made the RGC a terrorist organization in next year, and they started imposing crippling sanctions again. And I think the JCPOA, look, I'm not an Obama fan, but it was probably the best way to deal with the Iran nuclear problem by far. Because what do we have now? Now we have a war. Like, what's going on? Like, it was stupid.
Yeah, and it was 5%, and now he's tore it up.
And we pulled out 100% because of the Israelis. 100%. Because Trump's whole argument was Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. This stopped that. So is it they can't have a nuclear bomb, or is it you don't want them to make money because they're a threat to Israel?
Yeah.
And we know that Netanyahu in 2015, as Obama was on his way out, came to the U.S., did a whole speech about Iran can't have the JCPOA is bad, blah, blah, blah. Like, the reality is not that they're so worried about the nuclear bomb like, Netanyahu had been complaining about for 30 plus years. His worry was Iran would become economically powerful and be able to, challenge their hegemony in the Middle East. That's what he was really worried about. So what I've noticed is they shift the goalposts whenever it benefits them. Okay. JCPOA is here. Nuclear problem averted, crisis averted. Cool. No, we just don't want them to have, we don't want them to have money to, prop up their proxies against us. Okay. The nuclear program is destroyed. Okay. Now it's the ballistic missile program. Okay. Well, we took care of, what info do you have on that? Oh, it's the proxies also. It's acts of resistance. So they're able to always come up with some type of excuse to justify aggression.
So one of the things is, since the 12-day war, Iran realigned, recalibrated, built their defense up. And you've been looking into that. What type of defenses do you believe that they possibly may have got from
the Iranians?
From China.
So with the Iranians, they got some sophisticated radars and surface-to-air missiles from the Chinese, which I think it's the YLQ YQ8B or something like that. It's
YLC, yeah.
YLC
9B, I think it is.
Yeah, 9B. Yeah, if you could pull it up real fast for me, because I always mess up the numbers and stuff like that. But either way, it's very sophisticated radar. And it comes in like a package, right? So it's, you got the radar, which identifies the incoming missile, and then you got the surface air missile, which is obviously supposed to intercept it. And this radar was designed specifically to like counter American stealth. As you guys know, our air superiority heavily stems from stealth. You got your F-22 Raptors, which, obviously highly classified. No other country has them. We have our F-35s, which, we sell to certain countries that we have partnerships with. And then obviously the version that we have of the F-35 is the most superior, that, is the most classified, that has the best stuff. And then the Israelis have a version of our F-35 that's pretty powerful as well. But we still have the best version, B-2 bombers, etc. So these Chinese radars scan for different types of frequencies to be able to detect our stealth aircraft. Now, the real question is, and I've been trying to figure this out, right? And I'd love to talk with like a military, like, gear guy about this. On the day that they attacked, I don't know if they had these radars installed in Tehran, to identify the aircraft as they were coming in, or if they have these radars strategically placed next to their missile cities, right, to prevent being detected in that regard, or if they're moving them around. I know that they're mobile as well. So that's kind of what I'm trying to piece together, because I do know that they bought these radars and this technology. And I know that the U.S. is also running around saying that, they have air superiority. I've heard a couple people in your space actually saying that, come from military background, saying like that's not true, because if they did, they'd have video of themselves flying over Tehran and everything else like that. So maybe not air superiority to the same degree that, Pete Hegseth is claiming. But these are some of the things that they picked up. And then obviously they started like mass producing the Fatah-1, hypersonic missile. And I know that they just utilized the Fatah-2 recently. I still have to like do some research on that. Where I think it hit the Ben Gurion airport, at least from reports that I saw. I didn't get to watch the video, but like I read it somewhere.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, they started mass producing the Fatah-1, started mass producing the drones, the Korshmir that you mentioned, the Khaibar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they just upped their arsenal because they knew that, this conflict was going to come again.
So we've got some breaking news, and that's why, guys, as you know, when I look at my phone, I'm not ignoring.
I knew there's something.
There's some breaking news. So there's two big breaking news. The first one is there's been a major explosion in Saudi Arabia. More details to come.
Oh wow!
And another one is, this is big. Norway. Apparently, there's an incident outside the U.S. embassy in Norway. So we'll have to see what that is. Wow. But it seems like some kind of incident outside of possibly the embassy in Norway. More details to come on that.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I mean, we know that a couple embassies got attacked. I know in Pakistan, one got attacked.
Yeah, exactly.
They destroyed all the embassies. All the embassies in the Gulf are destroyed now at this point, right?
They've been hit hard. I don't know if all of them have been destroyed.
I know the one in Iraq is done.
Yeah.
Kuwait, I think that one is done.
That one hit. Bahrain's been hit hard.
I know the Saudi Arabian one they attacked.
Yeah,
and here's another thing too. Like all the bases are destroyed pretty much in all across the Gulf, man.
Well, explain that, because I believe that the level of damage that's been committed is innumerable. You can't count it. There's a radar in Qatar that will cost 1.1 billion.
Yeah.
There's
the one in Kuwait is destroyed.
Exactly. So because I want to talk to you about the cost. So you've got the cost of that. You've got, apparently there's like a counter that shows almost like 7 billion has been spent already. But that's not in terms of movement, that's just specifically in these 7 or 8 days. And actually estimates, like the guy you mentioned, the guy from UAE, the billionaire, says he believes that this war could cost, even if it lasts another couple of more weeks, $210 billion. What's your thoughts on the level of cost that the Americans are paying out?
I mean, are we just okay? So because there's so many losses, there's the trade loss, there's the with the energy, right?
Exactly.
There's the gas, LNG. That's probably, they're losing billions right there, because that's a natural gas that needs to get to Europe. The Strait of Hormuz, right? We're losing a bunch of money. So like, dude, there's just, everyone is bleeding money from this. The United States, the Gulf, tourism, trade. This is just an L for everybody. And then also we're also paying for it. Like if you want to talk about like the price up in for a barrel of oil is what, in the 90s now, 93. I think once we get to 100, and I remember Simon, we discussed this. He said that if we're at 80 for a couple of weeks, it's going to create problems. We're already at 90, and it's not even, and it just hit a week, and the only reason, and I remember, shout out to Simon because we talked about this too, and I agree with him. He said the only reason it stayed at 80, or it kind of like stayed there a little bit longer, is because Trump made the Truth Social post talking about the Navy will guide ships across the Strait of Hormuz, but that's bullshit. No ship is gonna go, in the Strait of Hormuz now. Like these aren't military ships, so and no insurance company is gonna insure it either, and no captain wants to be on the hook for losing a bunch of precious cargo. So they're just gonna dock and wait, and it's gonna probably take a few weeks.
No doubt. And so in terms of the cost is costing Americans, you look at the billions of dollars that has been spent for the foreign nation. Even if you don't believe that Israel's controlling America, right? Let's say you don't believe that. What you know, as a matter of fact,
then you're a moron. But
but
let's assume you don't.
Let's assume you don't believe that. What we know is that what this war will do is it will financially benefit the rich, the military interest complex, the billionaires, and poor people are going to become even more poor. The average American is, and anyone beneath that is going to struggle. I mean, you mentioned today, you were speaking to your Uber driver. He's got 2 jobs. Whenever I'm in the US, I'm speaking to Uber drivers, and nearly every one of them says they've got 2 jobs, or restaurant workers got 2 jobs. Times are hard. Trump's just made everyone's life a lot more difficult. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not good, because the problem when the price of energy goes up is it has a cascade effect on everything else, because your food, transportation, your ability to get to work, everyday things that you need, everything goes up in price because it costs more to make it. So, obviously, if you're doing financially well, you don't even notice this stuff. You don't care. But for people that are pinching pennies together, or people that are struggling to put groceries, in the fridge, you're going to feel it. And then you're also going to feel it when you're at the pump. I mean, in many places all across the U.S., it's already up. I know here in Florida, it's went up $1. California, I know as of a couple of days ago, went up $1 when it was around $80 a barrel. So it's probably going to go up even more. Everyone's going to feel it. And it's crazy because, you're feeling it immediately, and we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. Like you're feeling it immediately, and we haven't even gotten to the worst part about it. Like people talk about the Russia-Ukraine war, that had an impact, right? It took years, but people figured out, oh, wow, why is food so expensive? Yeah, because Ukraine is like the breadbasket of Europe. So if you cause a supply chain issue on one side, that's going to, we live in a globalized world. That's going to feed into other parts of the world. But with the Strait of Hormuz, and people need to keep in mind, the Strait of Hormuz, only about 12% of U.S.'s oil comes from that region, but we're also still feeling the spikes because the rest of the world is panicking.
Exactly.
Right? The stock market's going down, right? Like people thought it would hold, it's going down. Precious metals are going up. So it's just not good. This war is absolutely pointless and doesn't benefit anyone except for Israel. And if you won't admit that, then you're just not being honest. And I will give people some credit, right? Like if you look a lot of if you watch Fox News, right, or if you watch someone like Osmongold, right. No offense to Osmongold, but they're just they either don't know foreign policy properly, or they're purposely misreporting stuff. Like Fox News is like the highlight reel for Trump. They're over here talking like, yeah, we're totally destroying Iran. Like there's other guy, I called him out on Twitter, Enforcer, whatever, I forget. He has like 20, 30,000 people watching him live on YouTube, right? Like some of these people are the worst. And the reason why they're the worst is because they're not they don't care, because they're making money hand over fist on this war. They got 30,000 people watching them live, on YouTube here, maybe another 50,000 on Twitch, with Osmongold. They're not feeling the effects of any of this because it doesn't matter. They can make the stupid commentary or say, yeah, this war is awesome, we're totally destroying Iran. But who's going to feel it at the pump? You are. You're going to feel it at the pump. They're not. It doesn't matter to them. They're not checking the gas when they're pumping. They're not checking their groceries when they buy food. You are. So this is why I'm so against war, because I understand that there's long-term consequences to it that obviously the wealthy don't feel, but the general American public is going to feel. As people sit there and they promote this war and they're saying we're totally winning, we're blah, blah, blah. No, we're not, because the issue here is that the barometer for victory for the United States is a much higher barrier to achieve than the barometer of victory for the Iranians. All the Iranians need to do is survive. And they have the missile cities to do that. Right. And we can't just use every single one of our bunker busters to find them, if we even find it. And there's hundreds of these missile cities. Right. So they just need to survive and be able to sustain. For us, it costs us billions of dollars to wage this war because we're the ones going to them. And the interceptors cost a bunch of money. That's another problem. Right. So we're losing diplomatically with the Gulf states. We're losing militarily and financially with the war of attrition. And at some point, the Israelis and the Gulf states aren't even going to be able to defend themselves. So what are we going to do when the damage really starts hitting and they start hitting and there's no interceptors, right? And then the American public is starting to feel it now. So this war is ridiculous. And anyone that's out there promoting is saying we're totally kicking ass and we're going to destroy them. That's not the measurement of victory. The United States is already going to do that. We are the best military in the world. We have some of the best soldiers in the world. We are the strongest country in the world. Great. But that's not what the Iranians are prepared for. They've prepared 30 to 40 years for an asymmetric battlefield where they're going to bleed us out economically. And that's what's happening right now. And we're all feeling it within only a week. I'm already seeing people saying like, why is gas prices high? Blah, blah, blah. And and I wish more Americans were, foreign policy minded, because, the average American, unfortunately, is an idiot. Let's just be honest. Like they don't even know where Iran is on the map. They don't know what Tehran is. They don't know anything about the conflict. They don't understand the dynamics of the Middle East. They don't understand how these people think, how they move, etc. So for them, they're kind of like, oh yeah, we're winning America, but it's like, not really, dude, because you're paying for this and it's really expensive, and they can go a lot longer than we can, and this war doesn't have any strategic benefit, and Americans are dying. We already lost 6 people. Like, these are human beings that like have a family, that have people that care about them, that love them, and they died for what? Right? For what? Ridiculous.
Really to see. Guys, we're live on YouTube, so repost on YouTube. Make sure you're liking the YouTube, retweet the space, and on TikTok, make sure we get likes in. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's going decent on TikTok. Make sure you like. Let's get the likes up to 100,000.
Should I move it back a little bit? So
yeah. I think it'll look better.
Yeah. Let me see here. We got. Oh shit. There we go.
Awesome.
That we're both.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay. This is why Myron's the expert. He's been doing this for years.
Yeah. Twist this.
But yeah, guys, retweet the space, reshare the space, let everybody know we're live. But on TikTok, get us to 100. There's 550 people listening on TikTok, I think. Get that to 100,000 likes and put it on your stories on TikTok. This is only our, I think, 3rd or 4th TikTok. So, I mean, get them stories out there. I think you put it on the story and then everyone knows about it. So retweet, reshare the TikTok, put it on your story.
And there's a couple other people that are like this too, but like I call them out on Twitter, like, yo, you're a warmongering retard. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is not cool. Like, they're like, we're destroying Iran. I'm like, dude, this isn't, we're winning the war. No, you're not, dude. This is not winning. This is like, we're going to pay for this later. Like, we're going to pay for this later. And then like Trump made a tweet saying, yeah, we had a meeting with the defense contractors and we're going to try to we're going to quadruple production. You're still not going to produce them in time. You're not going to produce these interceptors in time, like to deal with it. Like the Iranians are making hundreds of missiles a month. And then I didn't know that they can make, you said like 100 drones a day?
80 to 100 drones a day. Yeah.
That's we can't keep up with that. We simply can't. We cannot keep up with that economically. And asymmetric warfare, this is how you win.
Well, speak about that, Myron, because what we know is since day one, the number of missiles that are being used has decreased. But what has increased is the number of drones that are being used. We know these drones are so easy to produce, cost effective. Explain
Cheap
that
too.
from a military perspective, why it would make logical sense to use drones.
Yeah. So if you're in asymmetric warfare, if you can get your opponent to spend significantly more money, right, on defending than you're spending on attacking, well, it's just a matter of time until the attacks go through and they can no longer, afford to defend themselves. And that's exactly what the Iranians are doing, because they're using very expensive interceptors to deal with, drones that they're making domestically that cost them, they sell them for 20,000, but it's probably costing them like $1,000 to make. Because the other thing with the Iranians that's also very important to understand is that they manufacture everything in-house. That's a huge advantage, to manufacture everything in-house.
Exactly.
Because you manufacture everything in-house, you don't have to worry about shipping things in. You don't have to worry about pricing. You can make it quickly, cheaply.
Exactly.
And that's the name of the game. Meanwhile, these interceptors, are complex. You need special people to make them, experts. So it takes more time. So in a war of attrition, if you can attack for cheaper than they can defend, it's only a matter of time until the attacks start coming through. And that's precisely where we are right now. And I don't know who Trump's advisors are. I don't know why they even thought this war was a good idea, because from an asymmetric warfare perspective, we're already feeling it financially now. And then the only way that you're going to actually effectuate the regime change that you want is you're going to have to put boots on the ground, which is a suicide mission. In a war like the Taliban took over, they own Afghanistan. And how many soldiers died in Afghanistan for no reason?
Exactly. But something key you said there is that Iran is internally able to produce these weapons very fast. And part of the reason they're able to do that is because after the 12-day war, Iran basically sent them a lot of the ability, a lot of the components that are required for drones and for missiles to be able to produce them in real time, even when there's a blockade. going on, or even if they're in the middle of a war? What's your
and this is a country that's been sanctioned for decades. So the other thing people need to understand is that the Iranians are extremely smart and high IQ, right? There's a reason why they've existed for thousands of years. This is a very smart people. This is a very resilient people. And they've been sanctioned for a very long time. So they've been able to be very, exercise quite a bit of ingenuity with producing weapons despite crippling sanctions. So everything is made in-house, man. All their ballistic missiles are made in-house. Their drones are made in-house. A lot of people don't know the Iranians were one of the few that gave the Russians their drones that they used in the Ukraine war. They were one of the few countries that came to their aid during that war with the Shahed drones. So, if you're able to manufacture drones at such a cheap cost, there's no wonder they're wreaking havoc. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Myron, the Gulf states were able to shoot down 90% plus of their drones or of their ballistic missiles. That's irrelevant because they only need a small percentage to hit. Okay, that's what it's about. It's if you unless it's 100%, you're going to deal with some damage, and that's all they need to do is create damage. And then also, the fear has been created. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, and tourists are panicking and leaving, and real estate prices are going down. They're creating the economic havoc they need to, right? So markets are tumbling. Effect has been created. So that's kind of what it is, and that's what hurts the Gulf states the most, especially since the Gulf states, their two main industries, right, are tourism and obviously energy, oil and energy. They've effectively disrupted both immensely, right? Strait of Hormuz is closed, and then now and now tourists are panicking. And I think the airport opened for the first time today or yesterday, and so many people left. I looked at my X. Everyone is on an airplane, leaving Dubai. Dubai.
But you got some breaking news. I'm just going to answer that one. It is linked to what you were mentioning, which is another drone attack in Kuwait, and it's taken out another radar. So radars, and these
are $1 billion radars, by the way, guys.
And what the radars are used for is part of the functions of these radars is they give Israel early warning detection. So Israel will be like, okay, the radar's telling us this missile's coming in. We've got 12 minutes to get into various places to make sure that we stop the missile. But if you take the radars out, now that time reduces. They only have maybe a 1 or 2 minute to react with the defense interceptor missiles. And then they use more defense interceptor missiles. So, that's the breaking news.
The whole game. So that's important because when it comes to the game of, missile warfare, right? The whole game of missile warfare is the less reaction time your enemy has, the higher the likelihood that you will be successful in your strike. So if they remove radars, what you've effectively done is you've limited their ability to have more time to intercept the missile. And the other thing too, like with the THAAD, for example, right? The THAAD is like a lot of it, like if you look at like the Iron Dome, right? If I'm not mistaken, the way the Iron Dome works is it shoots a missile towards the other missile and then explodes next to it to bring it down. The THAAD, it's more accurate. It hits it head on and then explodes. It's like trying to actually hit it head on for higher rates of likelihood of success versus exploding next to it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So with the THAAD, it's heavily reliant upon a radar because it needs the radar to be pinpoint and precise to actually hit the missile head on and explode. So when you destroy the radar, you've effectively made the THAAD useless. And these radars are expensive. We're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like $600 million for the THAAD radars.
Yeah. I mean, the THAAD radars are, I believe they are, the defense missiles, some of them are like $1-2 million, depending on what it is.
No, like $600 million for the radar.
Oh, for the entire radar. Okay.
Just for the radars is $600 million.
That's right.
And then the radar that you're talking about, Qatar, was it in Qatar, the big one that they had?
That's 1.1.
That was one was like billions. So this is, as you guys can see, like this is a serious problem. Like not only are we losing our military bases getting destroyed, we're also losing like extremely sophisticated equipment that's responsible for protecting the region from missile strikes. This is why these radars are there. So when you destroy radars, like with the THAAD, you make them effectively blind, or with other ones that might not be as sophisticated. The radars are what give them the time to prepare the interceptor missiles to shoot. So,
but also on top of that as well, basically, in addition to what you said, if the time is reduced in order to react, you know how it is when you're reacting last minute, you'll end up using a lot more defense interceptor missiles. So now you're wasting a lot more that way as well.
Yes. So that's the other thing too, because like not only do they have to. So here's the thing that sucks. So if you do use a radar, you still got to use like 2 to 3 interceptor missiles, right, to try to take this thing down. And then if you're reacting late, that's assuming you even have enough time.
Exactly.
If you don't have enough time, now you're panicking. Oh, we got to double it. We got to shoot 4, right? And I think I saw a video of this. They shot in one I think you might have shared it. In one of the scenarios I saw 11 interceptors over Israel.
Yeah.
11 interceptors, and the rockets still came through. It must have been hypersonic or something.
Yeah.
Probably one of the fattest. But it still came through and struck, and everyone's like, oh. So, this is not good. And if you're Israel, like they're the ones that are going to get, when their interceptors are done, they're the ones that are going to get hit with the real, barrage. So
yeah, do you mean in terms of being hit, or do you mean the cost? Because the costs are going to you.
Well, yeah, we're paying for it, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm paying for it so that so we pay to protect Israel, and then but once they lose those interceptors, they're cooked.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much longer. We know what the Gulf states, they have less than a week. I don't know how much Israel has, how much longer. They're probably so classified, they're not going to share it, but I can't imagine they have much longer than the Gulf states, though. Yeah.
And just give us your thoughts on it says violation 1 on the TikTok, so let me check what that is. But what's the
I didn't even swear.
We didn't even say anything. I don't get it. Your live is flagged for hate speech and hateful behavior.
What?
So that's let me end this TikTok. Guys, if you're on TikTok, we're live on X, we're live on YouTube. Apology. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to end the TikTok because it says it's been violation warning. I don't even know what the violation is. I thought we were so.
They said hate speech. I didn't say anything.
We didn't even say anything.
Yeah, I didn't say anything, dude.
We've been so good.
It's because it's me, bro.
Live restricted. It says live restricted of some audiences. I guess we can carry on, maybe. I don't know. Do you think we should, or should we just end it?
Whatever you want, man. I mean, to be safe, you can end it, but it's completely up to you.
Yeah, we'll have to end it, guys. Sorry.
Tell them to come to YouTube.
Yeah, come to
all
YouTube.
you guys on TikTok, come on over to YouTube, man, so we don't have to censor ourselves so much.
Yeah, come across to YouTube. We're ending the TikTok.
Drop the link in there for them.
Yeah.
So they can.
I don't know how to do that, to be honest.
Okay. Pull up your YouTube channel real fast. I'll show you how to do it.
In terms of, I know how to do YouTube. I don't have to post it on TikTok.
Yeah, but there's got to be a chat there for you to type in.
Yeah, let me get the YouTube link. New channel.
Yeah, come on over, guys, on TikTok. Sorry, guys. I guess I'm too controversial for TikTok.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
It's just because it's you, because we didn't actually say.
Someone probably reported me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this guy, we hate this guy.
Yeah, let me. How do I?
It's like, can a ninja live, man? I'm over here like on my best behavior, not
guys,
swearing.
can you put the YouTube in the comments, because I can't figure it out to do it. So.
What's up, man?
There you go.
Good.
See you, man.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, how you doing? Okay, guys, I don't know how to do it, so if you guys could just put the comment in, put it in the TikTok, that'd be awesome. We're going to be moving across all of us to YouTube because the YouTube has been hit. So I'm going to end this right now. To end the TikTok, we're continuing on with YouTube. If the YouTube link is, my YouTube channel is Suleiman. I can see loads of people putting it in the comments. Appreciate you. It's Suleiman Ahmed X. It's Suleiman Ahmed X. Come across to the YouTube, Suleiman Ahmed X. This interview or this collab is continuing there. Okay.
You guys wanted to do the podcast here?
We did it there. We did one, and then now we're just kind of collabing on the YouTube live. We're live now. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No worries. We cap on it. Yeah, whatever you guys want. I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
So my flight's delayed, so.
Okay, cool. I can set something up right now while you guys do that.
Yeah.
So, guys, back again. Sorry about that. Apologies. So we are back. Unfortunately, the TikTok, they don't like you.
Yeah, I guess not. I don't know. I didn't even swear. Like maybe I said retarded. Maybe.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, I did say retarded, but
Okay.
I don't know if that's like a word, a big word, but whatever. It is what it is.
Okay, guys, let's get back into the conversation. So, in terms of, and by the way, we've already recorded something on that, Ahmed. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so coming back to it, we have Myron Gaines on. We're talking about the war with Iran. It's happening right now. So, one of the things they've been speaking about is ground invasion.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
Suicide, very bad. Zachros, it's the Zachros mountains, right? Huge. It's like Afghanistan 2.0. Right, and that it's unforgiving terrain, and putting boots on the ground there would be a very daunting task. I know with Iraq 1.0 or 2.0 and 03, we invaded with roughly 300,000, and it was
exactly.
Iraq is significantly smaller than Iran, and they'd have to make it all the way to Tehran. It would be a very daunting task, man. Mass casualties. It would be an L. And I think I just saw on the White House posted the Kurds are not going to invade.
Yeah.
Trump said that the Kurds are not going to
Has
invade.
Trump confirmed that now?
I think so. Yeah, I said in the White House, like, yeah, I don't want anything to happen. Come on, bro. They probably said, we're not going in there. We're not crazy. Like, we're tired of fighting wars for you guys and not getting our own state. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of the Kurds are not going to invade. So what happens then? So US, so what's he going to do? Because look, at the end of the day, everyone's going to see this as a failure.
Yeah.
Now he could do the propaganda talking points, but everyone is going to see this as a failure. So what does he do? Is he going to be forced into boots in the ground, or what do you think?
That would be political suicide, as well as sending our, boys and girls to their own suicide. So I think for him, if I was his advisor, if I was like, in the, in his cabinet or whatever, I was like one of his advisors, I'd be like, look, bro, claim the W with killing the Ayatollah and his 50, guys. Say you got him. Take credit for that in Qasem Soleimani, and then walk out and say we mission accomplished. Do the Bush, remember what he did on the aircraft carrier? Mission accomplished, even though nothing was accomplished. And just like just get out. Like, yes, you're gonna get roasted. Yes, you're gonna made fun of. But at this point, you got to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And if you continue, you're gonna continue to bleed. Strait of Hormuz is gonna stay closed. You're gonna have an energy crisis in Europe. You're gonna create economic, issues all across the United States. The American public is going to catch on to the fact that their gas prices are going up. Maybe the idiots might not. They can sit there and continue to watch Asmongold and be like, yeah, we're totally destroying them. And then when they show up to the gas pump and they see that their gas is like double the price, triple the price, then they're going to catch on and be like, what's going on here? So he does still have a chance to kind of get out this and still save a little bit of face politically. But we all know that, he has an ego and the Israelis probably won't allow that.
Now, one of the things you mentioned is about the air superiority, and obviously there's air superiority, air dominance. Now, a lot of the military experts I've spoken to, their claim is that actually the US isn't able to actually go close. And so really I've
heard that from people too.
Yeah.
They're shooting missiles from way out.
Exactly. What's your thoughts on that?
They're banking on okay, I'm going to say this again. Like, I really want to harp on this. Most Americans are retards. And when I say most Americans are retards, I really do mean that most of them are retards. Because number one, a lot of them don't know where Iran is on the map. Number two, the government knows that these people are retards. So they can say things like air superiority. And most Americans are not going to look into that to see what that really means. They won't know that doesn't mean like they won't know that means like they're shooting the missiles out from very far. Right? They won't know that. They'll think like air superiority. Yeah, they can't touch us. That doesn't mean that, Iran still doesn't have some of these Chinese radars around with surface air missiles. And we've heard reports of F-15s getting shot down. So they wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't still have some kind of semblance of air defense. So, they bank on the fact that, the American public is stupid. They don't understand. And most Americans don't understand foreign policy. We obviously know that, because if most Americans understood foreign policy, we wouldn't be controlled by Israel the way that we are. But since most don't know, because it's been a censored topic for so long, they believe whatever they hear on Fox News, unfortunately.
Exactly. Now, when you look at this war from a timeline perspective, you mentioned it in the previous conversation we had, and explain to the audience how they've changed their opinion from 4 days up to possibly even September, you mentioned.
Yeah.
And what does that really mean, and how long can this go?
So what I think happened right in the White House was his advisors came up to him and said, look, we were successful in Venezuela. You could become a legend. Let's go ahead and topple the Ayatollah. You'll be the one to do it. Okay, let's do it. All right, let's do it. I want to be a legend. Right. And then they think it's going to be, because that's why I attacked on the weekend. Trump is real big on the polls and the stock market, because obviously all of his buddies are in that world. The guy's an entrepreneur first, right? So he was not a career-long politician. So attacks on the weekend, hoping by Monday, Tuesday, they'll come to the table. Well, hey, okay, uprising, we got a new government in there. Awesome. Strait of Hormuz isn't closed. Oil is still at a decent price. Obviously, he he grossly underestimated the Iranian people and the resolve. I think it caused the opposite effect that made them rally around the flag, just like the 12-day war did.
Yeah.
So once he realized that, like, they're not going to topple the government, even though him and the Shah and Netanyahu and PBD and others, like, exiled diaspora Iranians, like, came in and said, like, yeah, to topple the government. Once he realized that, okay, he's like, okay, this might take a month. That's when Hegseth kind of like let us slip, at the press conference with the Pentagon. Then it was, well, however long it takes, even if it's 8 weeks. And then I heard somewhere it got published. I forget which news outlet said 100 days. And then the latest I heard was it could go until September.
That's crazy. September. That's like what we started
7
in
months.
March. Yeah, it's like 6-7 months. And so, do you think it goes longer than that now, or what? That
I don't see the Iranian people giving up, and I see that, and the longer it goes, the more it plays into the Iranians. So for them, they want it to go longer, right? And and also another thing I want to say is that I've seen a lot of reports where they're saying like, oh yeah, well the Iranians, ballistic missile capabilities have degraded, right? They're shooting 90% less missiles or less drones or whatever. Well, I think that the reason why we're seeing that is because 2 reasons. Number one, obviously they know that it's a long haul, so they have to conserve weapons. And then another thing too is, I think the Ayatollah's death triggered a dead hand system, and like the Soviets kind of did with nuclear weapons. Rather, they did it with their ballistic missile program. And what that did was like everyone had their marching orders. If Khomeini's killed, or something drastic happens within the government where leadership is killed, you guys have your marching orders to launch all these missiles. You have your locations, and it decentralize the attack, right? Because you can't decapitate a government that now no longer has a head, because everything is decentralized and they can operate independently. And I think that's why we saw these places get relentlessly bombed and attacked. And it would make sense that they would do that. And now they probably, after the first week, now they're probably going to regroup and figure out what they're going to do. They're go to their central command and figure out what the next phase of attack is going to be. But they have the missiles, they have the drones, everything is made domestically. They got the missile cities. The West is bragging like, oh yeah, we destroyed all their launchers. I heavily doubt that too. I don't think they destroyed all the launchers. And then here's the other thing: like these launchers, you can launch them from. I've seen them launch them from like trucks, like box trucks.
Yeah, they're mobile.
They're disguised,
they're mobile,
And then you got rockets that can be shot from the sand. So their capabilities to shoot rockets, I don't think are going to be 100% contingent upon launchers. And then there's hundreds of these missile cities all over the country, man. Iran is huge.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what the Iranians want. And this is just going to hurt us economically, politically, financially, militarily, more casualties, unfortunately. And I didn't really like Trump's very callous response. Yeah, more might die, blah, blah, blah. Like, what the fuck do you mean more might die? Like, this isn't a joke. Like, this isn't a game. You know what I mean? Like, and then you got them posting on the White House, Grand Theft Auto memes and some other fucking weirdo putting L1, L2, the Vice City code for unlimited weapons. It's like, no, dude, this is real life. Like, we literally have soldiers in the firing lane that can die for what? Like, this is stupid. And I just see Iraq 2 and at least with Iraq 2 in 2003, we had 9/11 to justify that. We don't have anything to justify this whatsoever. This was an, random attack on a sovereign country because we don't like that they pose a challenge to our greatest ally.
What's your thoughts on that? That there's, as you mentioned, there's 6 American soldiers that have lost their lives. Iran is claiming a lot more. Iran is claiming, obviously, there's also an American hostage. But that being said, with the with the loss of American lives, at the moment, it doesn't seem to be that the 6 have caused an outcry. At what point do you believe that there could be a scenario where there is an outcry in the United States of America?
Once we get into double digits, people are going to say what's going on. And then if we hit triple digits, that's when I think we're going to have some real political problems for Trump. I mean, he's already getting backlash today. They brought the bodies back today and he had a white hat on, what, as he gave him a salute. This is why a lot of times I think, military service should be mandatory for certain people. But yeah, I mean, this is.
Well, what do you mean by that? That's an important point you made there, the military service, because
you should have your hat off. You know what I mean? Like, you should have your hat off when, in certain situations. I think having a hat on for something like that is just inappropriate. And, look, I mean, I'm very patriotic. I've served this country before. My background is to work for Homeland Security investigations. I put my life on the line for the flag. So I think our service members deserve better. And I think pointless wars for Israel, I take it very personally, and it pisses me off. And, some people might say, well, Myron, you're very anti-American for saying these things about Iran, blah, blah. Well, look, I understand and respect our enemy. And I think that fighting this enemy for the reasons why they're listing is just not appropriate and not justifiable. And we shouldn't be involved. And I think, if you really want to, understand. So if you want to have a war with someone, you need to understand your enemy. You're attacking a theocracy-based government where you killed the number 2 guy within the Shiite community. Foolish. and you martyred him in Ramadan. Like,
Mhm.
are you stupid? Like, and the CIA warned Trump about this, that this could have this could be backfire. And we're seeing it because instead of enticing people to say, let's go down with the regime, it made them say, fuck this guy even more. You know, they're like people that don't even like the Ayatollah are saying, well, look, we don't like him, but we hate Israel more.
Exactly.
You know, so this is just like incredible unawareness, lack of wherewithal of like understanding your enemy. Like, you're gonna martyr the guy in Ramadan, like worst possible time you could do this, you know, when people are gonna have the most, you know, the holiest month. Just foolish.
So what's the reason why that error has been made? Because you're saying the CIA was given different intel. So all of these different organizations were given Trump different intel. In your view, what made him go to war then if he's ignoring the intel of people?
Ego in the Israelis. I think ego in the Israelis is a big part of it. And then he's high off his W from Venezuela, right? Went in there, kidnapped another leader, right? Because people forget that, like, at the end of the day, like, Trump is like a social media guy and you know, a celebrity.
Yeah.
So, you know, the guy has an ego. The guy has an ego out the woozah. You know, this guy used to be a reality TV star or whatever. So for him, he's looking at it like, oh, we kidnapped Maduro. Like, I can probably replicate this again. A quick war, in and out, hit him really hard. That's why they're hitting him so hard right now, because he understands that a protracted war is not in his best interest and is politically going to hurt him because it's midterms. But he grossly underestimated this enemy, right? And I will say this too: the Israelis probably gave him a bunch of bad intel, which is common, by the way. They always give us bad intel, FYI, to justify wars. You know, I can imagine Netanyahu there with his stupid ass Mossad, you know, higher ups. Yeah, we could do this. We could totally destabilize. We got people on the ground that say that they hate the Ayatollah, blah, blah, blah. They did the same thing with to justify the Iraq war. You know, Iraqi officials, intelligence officers met with Al-Qaeda operatives to hand off anthrax. You know, the Israelis have been the root of so much bad intel to try to drag us into conflicts.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, in terms of a Trump, one of the things obviously is the MAGA movement. This seems like it's the death of the MAGA movement. What happens in 2028? Like, what's going to happen? Like, and I don't just mean in terms of loss. I think
MAGA dies with Trump.
Yeah, okay,
JD Vance is corny. Marco Rubio is corny. Them being pro-war on this is not going to help them as well. So, you know, they're going to try to, you know, push JD Vance probably under the MAGA banner. But I think MAGA dies with Trump. He was the brand. He was the face of it. And, you know, we're going to go back to the old, you know, the GOP, right? The good old boys club. But it's going to be, you know, the boring Republican Party that we remember of John McCain and George Bush era. And now they're revealing themselves to actually be the neocon party again. So
but can the GOP ever win an election? Like, the reason why Trump won is because he brought a wild swell of actually people from the left, people who were concerned about the social issues. He created a new movement.
He did
this, like, old school boomer politics. Do you think it's going to work when
Obama, and I hate to admit this, but Obama killed the GOP, and I'll tell you why. For those of you that remember, back in 2008, he ran against John McCain.
Yeah.
John McCain was like, you know, your normie, boring conservative, lame, stale, etc. And Obama came in and was charismatic and charming and spoke well and said, we're not going to get involved in wars. We're going to get out of Iraq, and, you know, said all the right things, etc. And he won in a landslide, right? And he, you know, really showed how stale and how boring and how, you know, lame the GOP was. And a bunch of young people turned out to vote for Obama. I remember I turned 18 that year. I voted for Obama. And so did everyone else I know, you know, back then. So, and then Trump came in and he revitalized the Republican Party under MAGA. He revitalized it and made it cool. And then, you know, young people like got behind him again, and they started voting.
Exactly. And so the point is, when you look at the youth now, the Gen Alpha, probably Gen Alpha, who are going to be in a position to vote probably many of them in 2028, it's a totally new generation, right? And it's not a generation that's going to be amiable to the boomer stuff. Then probably not even amiable to left-wing politics as well. So what's going to happen to them? They've literally, the Republican Party going back to its old way is just going to die.
It is. They're going to have to, both parties are going to kind of have to like acquiesce to some degree, right? Like the Republicans are going to have to find a way to stay like, you know, cool, while also somehow marketing to the Democrats, right? Or to people that are more left-leaning. Right. And then also Democrats are not really that cool either. Like they're not, the people in their party are not happy with them. They look at them like they don't fight hard enough, right? And they're soft. So they're going to have to find a way to kind of grab people from the right wing to come in. So you're going to need to have some kind of hybrid candidate of some kind.
Yeah.
We should talk about this in more detail in the interview, actually.
We did in
our interview. So we'll leave that for them to watch that interview.
And that's coming out tomorrow. This one's going to come out.
Yeah.
Well, this is already.
It's interesting how we came up with the hybrid candidate, what they'll probably have to touch on to get both parties to vote. Exactly.
Now, in terms of like one of the things I've seen is when it comes to the left-wing political commentators, they are largely like the bigger ones, like Destiny or Adam Mockler or these type of things. Yeah. They're very Zionist kind of a perspective. And so you see like left wing being controlled by the Zionists, the right wing being controlled by the Zionists. But at least what I saw with the right wing was there was a split. There was the Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, yourself, Nick on one side, and then all the rest of them on the other side who were, there's a split. And then on the other hand, on the left, you kind of start seeing a fracture as well amongst people who were Zionists and not and didn't support Zionism. But now with this war that Trump's taken part in, my fear is that actually this is going to force the left to just combine into one, and they're going to forget the anti-Zionist element within their party. What's your thoughts on that?
So you think they're going to they're all going to combine under the banner of anti-war, and then like the people that are actually pro-Israel are going to be able to skate by?
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept, because you're right. There are a lot of people, because here's the thing. Let's be honest. If you're a progressive and you don't call out Israel, you're a fucking fraud. Because Israel is the definition of everything that the left stands against.
Exactly.
Right? Like it is, and I hate to use these terms, but let's be honest here, because it is. It's literally an apartheid ethno state.
Yeah.
Right? They'll sit there and they'll say, oh, it's only democracy in the Middle East. Not really. You have people that have no rights that live there under you, and you're occupying them. So if you consider yourself like a Democrat or a progressive, which, they're real big on human rights and everything else like that, you should be completely opposed to Israel. Israel is completely antithetical to everything that the left and progressives and liberals stand for. So if you're a progressive and you're pro-Israel, you're a fraud. Like you're complete. At least on the Republican side, they can like say like, they're our greatest ally. Like we're, they control our infrastructure, whatever. Like they have a little bit more cover to support for Israel. But if you're a progressive and you support Israel, you're a fraud. You're the biggest fraud ever. So, but I don't think a lot of them go far enough, if I'm going to be honest. I you got people like, Hassan Piker and Kyle, and they'll say Zionists, whatever. I don't care. I just say it's the Jews, because we have to deal with the concept of Judaism. Like maybe this is where I might be a little bit more controversial in my thing. But if these people are going to come in and say Islam's a problem, blah, 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 and all that other stuff, fine, cool. You can go ahead and make that criticism, but we have to have a very real conversation on Judaism, because this supremacy ideology that these Israelis have, where does it come from? It comes from the supremacy bias that they have within their religion. I find it interesting how you could talk shit about Christianity all day. You could talk shit about Islam all day. Fine. And I'm open to hearing it out. But, let's go ahead and deal with the root cause. A lot of the problems with this Israeli supremacy, it stems from the religion of Judaism. Because even secular Israelis that aren't necessarily religious, they still have this supremacy bias.
Yeah.
Right. So they still have that, because they still had a bar mitzvah. They still grew up in a Jewish household a lot of the times. And they still have this cause of we are the chosen people, even if they're secular. So this is something that is a very real reality that no one wants to tackle. But this is where the left-wing people are scared, because they don't want to be called a bigot and called anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. So I call it what it is. But I've noticed, like with a lot of these left-wing political commentators, and I'll give credit to Kyle Kalinske and Hassan. They'll call out Israel for what it is, but they will never go the next step, because for fear of being called an anti-Semite or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, by the way, I agree with you. There is definitely a situation where people will attack Muslims, and then they won't attack Jewish people for the exact same thing.
And actually, that's my biggest telltale sign that they're a cuck. So, like, if you get someone like, people from like Daily Wire, right, or like Matt Walsh or whatever, or any of these guys, they'll attack Islam. Fine, no problem. You want to sit there and say Islam's not compatible with America? Fine. But I would make an argument that Judaism's even less compatible with America.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because it goes completely against American values. It's completely antithetical, because it's like we're the supreme people.
Exactly.
Right. We're the best people.
Oh, even that recent incident that happened with the like dog issue that they were doing. like in Judaism, in the Talmud, they literally say you can't have dogs. You got to keep them caged.
Yeah.
So they're a lot more strict even about dogs.
And they reject Christ completely.
Yeah.
Right. At least with us, we look at him as a prophet. With him, they reject him completely all the way. Like they look at him as a sorcerer, evil, etc. Like so. But it's amazing to me how like in a right-wing media, especially, it's like they're so cucked, like, because we know who owns right-wing media.
Yeah.
But that's my thing is like, I've always said, like, you could tell who's owned by, okay, you'll criticize Islam. Cool. We know that's the safe thing that you criticize. But when you talk about the Jews, oh, you won't, then shut the fuck up.
And
that's how you can tell who the real ninjas are.
Yeah. Now, the one thing is though, like, this issue of Judaism or Zionism, I hold the position as Zionism. And the reason for it is, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is that I believe that when you say it's just the Jews,
not all, of course.
Yeah, not all, of course. Like we know,
using a little bit of hyperbole.
Yeah, like the majority, right?
Yeah.
Because the vast majority support Israel, vast majority support the Gaza.
Because the evangelical Christians are also to blame as well.
But this is what I was going to say.
A lot of them are Zionists.
So my point is this: that when you say it's Jews rather than Zionists, then I think it takes out the Christian Zionists or even the Muslim Zionists. So I've like Dubai being here, I've got no issue with, because I just see them as Muslim Zionists. And similarly, when you've got, for example, the Christian Zionists, so someone like Hegseth, or for example, there was a report a day or two ago that allegedly, and I know this has been disputed a bit, but the claim is that Hegseth or the commander told that this is a kind of like a religious war or something along the lines. I'm paraphrasing. So that comes from Christian Zionism. Yeah. And so those Christians who believe that, they don't believe it because they love Jews. They actually believe that, look, we need to use them in order to get the same result, because our eschatology says that we need to accelerate the Messiah coming, and then the rapture will come. And then when the Jesus comes, he's going to say to the Jews, either follow us or you're going to get murked. So what I'm saying is then they just believe it on their own belief system.
Sure.
And that's the majority. And then we got Hegseth in there. You got Mike Johnson on there. You got Huckabee in there. So a lot of these key guys who are causing this war to occur are Christian Zionists. Sure. And so that's why I call it a Zionist issue. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So like, of course, we can't refute the fact that like majority of Zionists are actually evangelical Christians. So that's 100% true. But I do think that there's almost never any attention brought to, the Jewish side of Zionism, because if you look at Zionism, it's a colonial project based upon an ethno-religion. So that is the root cause of Zionism, right? Like, of course, you can make the argument that like, yeah, well, there's a lot of evangelicals and everything, but if we actually like look at the root cause of Zionism, it is from Judaism, right? And no one ever wants to tackle Judaism because it's looked at as like bad. Like you look at like Tyler Oliveira, right? Yeah, someone covers the whole Somalian angle.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is awesome. Now let's talk about the scamming from the Jews. Oh no, bro, cancel this guy, get him out of here. Patreon banned everything. So this clearly proves that there's like a double standard where if one group of people is caught for scamming, let's go ahead and cheer it on. They're Somalians, they're Muslims, great. But if another group of people is shown for scamming, who actually has far more representation and power in the United States, by the way, no, we can't say anything about that. So, it's just an incredibly ridiculous gross standard, double standard. And it just annoys me when I look at like, especially in the right wing, in my side of the internet, how right-wing media is so cucked and they're so scared to just say it's the Jews, bro. Right? Because that is an inherent part of it, because a lot of the things that they do, a lot of the privileges that they enjoy, the protections they have, etc., a lot of the things that they do is to protect one another. Like we have to, acknowledge things like, we're on YouTube. So, okay, I won't go too much further because we're on YouTube.
Let me just ask you another. Actually,
I don't want to get your nuke.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But in terms of, we need to survive. But in terms of like, and Sneeko was on my show and he mentioned how Nick Shirley, he's the one who did the whole Somali fraud thing. Yeah. And when he replied to, is it Tyler Oliveira's?
They went after him for that.
Yeah, he replied and said, "Oh, get
awesome,
them all."
Expose them all. Yeah.
And apparently they all attacked him.
They did.
So
they did because those people that love that Somalian stuff, a lot of them were probably Zionists and Jews, and they were like, "What the hell? You're not supposed to be supporting this." And then they went after him, and that's what they do. Like it's like a cancel mob. And the thing is that they have the power, representation, and finances to ruin your life, and they will do it, right? Because everything is for the benefit and preservation of the state of Israel, and it's like a mafia, dude. It's literally a mafia, right? And one of the greatest examples of this, like you look at someone like you mentioned, we were talking about Bill Ackman earlier.
Yeah.
Right. This is a guy that's a lifelong Democrat, has no
Exactly.
business voting Republican ever, lives in New York, you know, is supported the Clintons, etc. You know, but who did he vote for in the last presidential election? Who did he get behind? Got behind Donald Trump. Why? Because of Israel. So, you know, there's a pernicious angle to this where these people will sidestep their American values if it benefits Israel first.
Exactly.
And that comes from their Jewishness. It's not just, you know, I love the state of Israel. It comes from their Jewishness. And this is that's the part that no one wants to address or talk about. That's the part that's anti-Semitic and, you know, you can't say that or whatever. And I don't care. I look at it like, you know what, dude, until you guys can call me a liar, I don't care. Call me an anti-Semite all you want, but you cannot call me a liar.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to record another interview or?
Sure.
What's happening there?
What are you guys doing live stream?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wrap up your live stream, I guess, and then I'll set up the recording.
No, but because you got a flight as well, haven't you? So.
What time is it? We got time.
It's 9 and it takes off at 11.
Okay, we can knock it out real quick.
Okay, so
I can do a quick. Yeah, we can end this and I'll do a quick interview with you guys.
So, guys, that was Myron Gaines. Obviously, a very close friend of mine. I know people. We've got a mixture of views on the live chat. But look, at the end of the day, you know, he speaks out against Israel. He speaks out against Zionism. He's lost a lot of money to speak out against
millions of dollars talking about this.
Yeah.
Anybody in here complaining or whatever, I've done more for Palestine than any of you motherfuckers. So I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, in terms of he has lost a lot. So I appreciate it. But look, I still appreciate all your support still. But that being said, guys, look, give Myron a follow. His channel is really good. It's Myron Gaines X on YouTube. And he streams live on Kick as well. And he also streams on YouTube, Kick, and you're on Instagram. We've got Fed Reacts on Instagram, and
it's banned right now.
Oh,
We'll see if we can get it back.
And TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Although, how are you on TikTok? Like, you were on there for 2 minutes, and we got banned.
I don't know what the hell, man. Well, I don't stream on there, so that might be why. But we'll see, man.
Okay. So yeah, everyone follow him. By the way, the chat does love your brother a lot. So
yeah. Well, he's a more devout. He's a devout Muslim, so they're gonna love him.
Yeah, exactly.
My brother prays and all that. So yeah, check him out.
Check him out. He's got a really good channel.
Report,
Riyadh the Report. So check that out. But Myron, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it again.
Man.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Of course.
Guys, we're gonna switch back to the space, but I appreciate Myron.
So I have bad news for you.